성복해지는 옴남 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 공양시방조사 영양청정미묘법 삼승사과 탈승 원수 애납수
Welcome, everybody. I was thinking about, first mistake, what to talk about in this Dharma discussion this morning at the end of our retreat, our wonderful weekend together. And I had a great talk planned, but that happened last night. But that was predetermined, right? And so I started to think about all the talks that were given over the weekend, and all of them from the beginning to through, acceptance and liberation and judgment and letting go, and all of these great talks that happened over the weekend. And then I realized that we have a couple people here that have experienced their first koan interviews at a retreat, and it made me think about my experience of, entering into koan practice with Master Wanji, and I thought maybe now I'll get the secret sauce, right? Or I will attain some kind of new and understanding, enlightenment, or I didn't know what, or even what to call it, but I thought I would times any. So I think I was telling, I left off where I was talking about Venerable Wanji Dharma started the weekend by telling a story, and started with a long, long time ago. And maybe I'm going to, at least towards the end, go there as well. But I thought it was, after all those considerations of what has happened this weekend, I thought of a story. And during the little break we had, you guys were talking about this idea of if a tree falls in the forest, is it good or is it bad? But I was thinking of the story of a long, long time ago. There was a Zen master, Joju, who was walking the palace grounds. I think it was the palace. And was approached, I think, by the emperor at the time, and was asked, why did Bodhidharma come to China? The emperor had asked Master Joju that, and that was another way of saying, what does Buddhism teach, right? And so, and Master Joju's response was the cypress tree and the garden. And I think of that story for a couple of reasons this weekend, because what we did this weekend was no different than what happened many, many, many years ago when that emperor approached Master Joju and asked him, why did Bodhidharma come to China, right? And his response was, and I'm sure you've heard similar responses to this, you've had similar answers to this, but his response was the cypress tree in the garden. And I think that's really important because the teaching still goes on even this weekend. It happened so, I mean, even at that time, and even time eternal before then, when Bodhidharma did come to China, but also that this teaching is still very relevant to our lives, very relevant to our lives. And I think of entering into koan practice, it's easy to maybe say, oh, it's old stories. I mean, what is the point for my life today? And I might have had a little bit of that going on when I first started koan practice. You know, well, it's old stories about people in a faraway place that I can't pronounce their names. And what does this mean to me? And then my teacher, Venerable Wanji, had me do a koan. The specific one being the old woman burns down the hermitage, and I won't go into that koan specifically, but it spoke to me as a professional, as a therapist, and I was able to, in the process of working on that koan, see how very relevant this practice is into my life today. And so I get excited when I come up here for the weekend, and I sit with all of you, and I get to know you better, and I get to meet serious Zen students who stayed all weekend and submitted herself to this process. And same with Sam, who took his 5 precepts, and of course my fellow monks and my teacher, my respected teachers, and of course my guiding teacher, my Venerable Wanji, and I get to sit here this weekend, and I get to see how all this history still happens right now, right in this moment. Here we are doing the same thing. And so if somebody were to ask me today, why did Bodhidharma come to China? I would say, the PT Cruiser on the road up there. You know, or still the smell of grapefruit on my fingers from work practice this morning. And it's no different. And in that knowledge, or in that understanding, there is all kinds of possibilities. That is what I've come to know. And for that, I'm very grateful. Thank you. Any questions or comments or concerns or?
Yeah. Always. I take up more time than I should, but
No,
anyway.
you do not.
When you say, okay, when you say it was the cypress tree was coming, and when I've been in those koans, I've said something and they say, oh, we don't know that, we can't read the mind of somebody. I forgot where I heard that. So what's going on there? You're just guessing that's why he came, right?
No, actually, that he had, Master Joju had boiled down, it was no different than the work that you had done today. The emperor at that time asked the question of him on the palace grounds, where there happened to be a cypress tree, asked him, why did Bodhidharma come to China? Which was another way of asking, what does Buddhism teach? And Master Joju, all that was in front of Master Joju at that moment
Okay.
was the cypress tree in the garden.
Okay, I see it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other
So
comments?
when Emperor Liao
Oh, no.
asked Bodhidharma who he was, Bodhidharma said, don't know. So what is this don't know?
Don't know.
You sound like Susa.
Don't know.
So add an is in between both of those. Try it again.
Add is?
Yeah. You said it twice, but add is in between.
Don't know is don't know.
Correct. But don't know is fine too. How else can you manifest it? Don't know.
PT Cruiser on the road.
Gods.
Cots.
Yeah, all of this is primary point. So, the name of don't know is primary point. Primary point itself does not exist. So it's just Sun made it up. But that's okay, we have to make shit up to be able to communicate. As long as we know we're doing it, when we do it. Kitagiri Roshi wrote a book, I think it's his only book, and I love the title. Because Sun always said, open your mouth, big mistake. And Kitagiri Roshi wrote a book called, But You Have to Say Something. And both are true. So, thank you for saying something today.